You know, Christmas is a time of cookies, Santa, and basically anything jolly. So why not bring Star Wars into the mix? I did enjoy Rogue One. It was a good movie, and there were a lot of good parts. To start off, I really loved the cast of characters. If it was Jyn Erso, Captain Cassian, or K2SO, I loved all of them. Even Baze Malbus, and I hear a lot of people aren't a big fan of Baze, and I love him a lot. But there is one flaw. One little flaw that could possibly ruin the characters in the slightest way. They don't really have a lot of separate characteristics. I can find in group many different character groups where they act the same and they have kind of the same mood and tone in the movie. That doesn't mean that they're all the same character. I mean, they have different personalities. They all have a same tone. There are some that are the really wise, such as Forrest Whitaker's character, Saw Gerrera, but then you also have the mellow characters, such as Captain Cassian and Jyn Erso. And then you also have the kind of comedy relief, such as K2SO. So there are different characteristics, and I'd like to see one for every different one. As you see in Star Wars, you have Luke, the Chosen One. Harrison Ford as Han Solo, the Rebel, the Scoundrel. The characters were good, and they had good elements, but they can nowhere compete to what A New Hope had to offer. Plus, the visuals are gorgeous. Just gorgeous. It looked almost like a fan film in a way. So clean and polished. Everything just looked so sleek and new. It felt like a really good way to introduce the spin-off series. Now, going on to some spoilers, we do have a big one, kind of, that all of the rebels who had the mission to destroy, or no, not destroy, to send the Death Star plans to the rebels, they all died. They all died in their own way. Jyn Erso and Captain Cassian, both two of the main characters, got obliterated when Scarif was being blown up by the super weapon, as the Empire knew that if the rebels were going to get off with those plans, they probably weren't going to be alive much longer, so they decided to blow up the planet with people on there, like dead soldiers and stuff, to try to prevent any happenings for a signal to go up and the plans to be transmitted to the rebels. But that was a pretty sad moment, as you kind of become attached to these characters throughout the movie. Succeeded, but even though they succeeded, they didn't make it out alive. And that's what I think is really cool about the movie. They try something different. They don't have, oh look, people died along the way, but they're still, the main character's still alive. No, the main characters, they're all dead. I mean, everyone on marketing, they're all dead. They're all dead. Imagine if, in A New Hope, they blew up the Death Star and they got caught in the explosion and they all died. For the minimum time that you are watching and experiencing their struggles and what they have to do in a certain time in the movie. So now let's get on to the CGI part of the movie. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am talking about Grand Moff Tarkin and Princess Leia. Because Carrie Fisher, she still plays the role of Princess Leia, but she's not as young as she used to be. So they totally did a CGI version of Carrie Fisher. And then for Grand Moff Tarkin, the actor who played him in the original New Hope film, he passed away in 1994, I'm pretty sure. So they got his likeness from the family to use his likeness in the film and to make him a CGI character. And it actually looks pretty decent, if you ask me. I mean, when compared to a real person, it does look pretty fake. I mean, you can see the differences, but honestly, it took me a little bit to tell, and I would have taken a lot longer if I didn't already know that they were using CGI in this movie. So it ended up pretty well, but there were some ways to avoid the CGI altogether. What they could have done here was they could have had Krennic at the spot of Tarkin. They could have had him conducting and pulling all the strings. And they could have had Darth Vader kind of coming up to Krennic, asking him, all the orders and stuff. And then we could have had a bigger role from Darth Vader. Or we could have gone this other route and had Darth Vader act as the Tarkin role, and he could have been telling Krennic what to do, because he kind of gave that advice in that little dialogue scene between Krennic and Vader that went on for about a minute. So they could have just done that for the whole movie, and people would be satisfied. I mean, people love Darth Vader. They love him as a character, and they like that he is now back in a movie. He's now back in a film. And I actually would have wanted to see more of Darth Vader. He did have an amazing ending, which I will get to later. But yeah, that could have been avoided for Tarkin. And also for Princess Leia, there was a scene where they showed the backside before actually showing her face at the very end, where some rebel soldier comes in and he's like, "We have the plans for you," and it just shows the back of her, where you can see her dress and stuff. They could have just ended it there without showing her face. That would have been perfect. It would have been fun. But they just had to take advantage of the CGI and use it there. I mean, it's not totally bad, but if you have one option to kind of make it more of a kind of epic ending instead of kind of ruining it and having some people be like, that's kind of weird. I mean, it looks kind of awkward. You could have just kept the backside, and then you wouldn't have these problems here. But, I mean, you can do what you do, and it didn't ruin the movie for me. So I hope you guys enjoy when you see it. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my other content. I really appreciate that. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I'll see you guys next time.